did Limmys start?
Okay, so Limmy started on the 4th of May 2018. What happened was I was originally an Amazon seller on my own, and I was trying to learn the business and learn about everything to do with selling online and also running a business. And I started networking with a lot of people, and then I started helping other people. And one day, this lady from Slovenia messaged me and asked me some questions about VAT, which are taxes in Europe. And I knew a bit about it, so I helped her and how to get registered for various countries. And this went on for a few weeks until she was set up. And once she was set up and running, then she said to me, "What can I do for you?" And I found that kind of strange because most people will just get you to help them and then you won't hear from them again until they need help. But Lydia, she wanted to help me basically. She had very different skills to me, much more creative than I was. And so she sort of helped me with my business as well. And we became friends. And even at one stage, Lydia went away and I looked after her business while she was away. And then in 2018, we found a product, a kid's swim vest, and I asked Lydia to take a look at it, and we noticed that the offerings were very poor. They were poor quality, poor designs. So I said to Lydia, I said, "Look, you're the creative genius. Why don't you sell this?" And she said, "No. Why don't you sell it? Because you found it." And there was back and forth. And in the end, Lydia says, why don't we do it together? Just for fun, because we enjoyed working together. We had low expectations. So I said, let's do it. She already had the brand name Limmys. And probably 2 hours later, the company was born. And that's basically how it started. And we were both running our own businesses at the time. Lydia eventually sold hers, and we worked just only on Limmy's then.
Amazing. So she already originally had the Limmy's name and then so it was meant to happen.
Exactly, exactly.
So when did you realize that you had a brand?
What actually happened was our expectations, as I said, were low, and we made a goal from day one that we made a couple of goals. One of them was that we would sell 30 units a day during peak season. And even at the time, we thought that was quite ambitious. And also, um, a lot of people were staying away from the European Union markets because of the languages. I knew Germany was a huge marketplace. I spoke some German and I understood the culture. And so I said to Lydia, let's focus on Germany because nobody else is doing it. And then what happened was about 18 months later, I remember it was a Sunday, I was just doing some searching to see if there was any new keywords for swim vest. And and the top keyword came up was Limmy's swim vests, Limmy's Schwimmweste Kinder. And it had 1,200 unique searches in July. And even though it was a
Wow.
Sunday, I rang Lydia up and I said, I think we have something here. And that changed everything then. And we then sort of revisited our strategy and made some strong rules that we would only produce quality products, even if we were going up against cheaper sellers. We would stick to our goal of having a quality and premium. And we felt that there was a gap there, but also our life would be a lot easier if we were providing good quality products for customers. So that's
So,
basically we realized that Limmy's had some wheels.
so Germany was the first main
Yeah, I
country
mean,
and
yeah, we started like in the UK because it was a UK registered company. Um, but all of our focus went into Germany. But what happened as well is when we launched the product, normally then you start working out about the budget on marketing and how are we going to market this thing. But while we were trying to figure that out, they started selling with no reviews and and the sales were going up rapidly, and that doesn't happen. And I sort of put that down to Lydia's creativity in making sure that the product was good and it looked good. So it wasn't just functional; it was also like a fashion statement, and people knew that if their kids were wearing our swim vests, that they would look good and look different to others as well.
Okay. So then when obviously it was just the two of you and now you needed to decide it, we needed to grow this team. So when did you decide that?
Yeah, so we started in 2018 and we took on a virtual assistant based in the Philippines and they did sort of just some basic stuff for us. But what we found was like we were constantly going out of stock because the sales were going up bigger than we had expected. And it got to a stage in 2021 where it was just getting too much. And I phoned Lydia up. She was on holiday, and I said, "Look, we have to make a decision here." I said because we cannot continue doing everything the two of us. Like I said, the company is valuable at the moment. We either sell it or we bring people in and bring the right people in. And she immediately said, "You'll bring the right people in." And I had worked with John Greenwood, who's now a shareholder as well. I'd worked with him for many, many years before, and I knew what John's talents were. So I asked John if he was willing to join us, and John joined us, and he fixed a lot of things that Lydia and I didn't have time to fix. And then that was fine for about a year, year and a half, and then the three of us couldn't cope. So we brought in two guys, Jakob and Arban, that are based in Slovenia, who turned out to be fantastic, and and they helped grow the business. And then we got to the stage again whereby we had too much work. We couldn't grow because we couldn't do everything. So then we decided to expand again. And then we went looking in South Africa, in Cape Town, and we found I think it's about five people, yeah,
Mhm.
including your good self, Ash.
Yeah,
Um,
I was first, I
and
think.
yes, exactly, and that turned out to be the right decision. And now, a year later or a year and a half later, we're bearing the fruits of that as well. So, you know, it's interesting when you first take people on, you don't want to do it because you have this attitude like, oh, nobody can do the job as good as I can, which is rubbish, but that's what you think. But then you get to a situation where you're forced to do it. And when you do it, then you think, why didn't you do that earlier? It makes so much sense. So yeah, so now we have I think it's 13 or 14 people in total, and they're based all over the globe, and it works very well. So
So, giving that, what advice would you give someone who is starting a business?
okay, this is probably one of my favorite questions that I've never had the perfect answer to. Um, from my experience, it has a lot to do with yourself. What do you want? A lot of people want to start a business, but they're not prepared for the pain of starting a business. And what I mean about that is it's not a 9 to 5 role. You can't switch off at the weekends. It's a 7 by 24 hour role. You have to be comfortable making decisions, and even decisions, or especially decisions when you have two bad choices. And you have to, as I say, feel comfortable making them and then back yourself. If you say, "Oh, I'll do it tomorrow or the day after or day after," you're only going to hurt yourself in the long run. That's the thing. That's the one thing I think where people struggle the most with making decisions. and also taking risks. Like you're going to have failures whereby, you put all this effort into a product and then your customers are not interested in this product and you can't understand why. Then you try 1,000 different ways of saying this is a great product and people are not interested. That will happen. But what's important is how you handle that. If you keep fighting and trying to convince people, you know, as opposed to saying, look, I failed on that one. I learned from it and I move on. Next time I will speak to customers before I launch a product and see whether this is something that they want. So like you're constantly learning, but you have to really want it. It's not all about even having work-life balance, which is a bonus. It's about like what do you want? And like not even do you want to be your own boss, but do you want to achieve something? Do you want to prove something to yourself? And are you willing to put in the work to do it? Um, I know that I think even on Amazon is something like over 90% of businesses fail. And I know a lot of businesses that have failed, and they all fail for the same reason. They all give up when during their first problem. And
Yeah.
uh, and you're going to have problems, and you're going to have problems that you think there's no way can we get over this. But there's always a way, and you just need to trust yourself, surround yourself with the right people, and keep it positive as well. If anybody is saying, you can't do this or can't do that, then they need to be removed from your life because they will bring you down. So I would say go
Some
for it, but it's not an easy ride, but it's the rewards are huge if you get it right.
some good advice there. So when adding to your team, what were you looking for?
Okay, so I have a lot of experience of managing people in the past and also being managed by people. And I've been managed by some great people and some awful people. Not really awful people, but people that shouldn't have been managers. And I've learned from both the good ones and especially from the bad ones. And I always had an idea that if I had my own company, I knew exactly the type of people I wanted. So the type of people that I've been looking for, which I think I have, well, I know I have now, I don't want somebody who comes into the group that's perfect. I want somebody to come into the company that I can help get better and that they want to get better. And so I look for that. If somebody asks me the first question, how much vacation do I get? Then that's an absolute no-no. I try to find out what the person wants and also what their previous experience is. And also, I want somebody to come into the company and tell me I'm wrong, feel comfortable to tell me I'm wrong. So when I ask for somebody's opinion, I want them to give their honest opinion. And even if it's the complete opposite to mine, I don't care because if they're right, then that's better for the company. And what I've discovered and I guess yourself and others from South Africa are a great example because you're the most recent people that came into the team. When I interviewed all of you and decided, yeah, these are the right people, what I noticed was um, they're only maybe 20% of their potential. And I want to bring that up to 70 or 80%. And the only way I can do that is by giving them opportunities and allowing them the freedom to do what they do best and also to get their opinion because everybody in the company is in a different sort of different age range, different cultural backgrounds, different countries, and we all have different views of the world. And it's important to bring all of them together and find out, new things, exciting things, who thinks different, and so forth. And our record that I'm very proud of, we've been going for, I think, about 8.5 years now. Nobody has resigned yet. So that's good because we're doing
Brilliant.
something right. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah,
You don't often hear of that. So that's what I love about
yeah.
my job.
I'm
That's
sure
there's
it will happen one day, but it has to happen one day. But right now, that's our record.
well, that's incredible. So then going back to Limmys, so what separates you from the competitors?
Um, I've been asked this question a lot, and it's always a hard one um, to answer. But I would say, because I don't want to give the usual, spin that, oh, we're better, we do this or so forth. I would say we stuck to our culture and our principles that the products are premium. We're aware of our competitors, um, but we're not influenced by them at all. What we found is that they're copying us as opposed to us copying them. And sometimes we think that they're breaking rules, particularly on Amazon and stuff, but that's up to them. Like we just make sure that we do the right things all the time. So I feel as if we're leading the way in our niche and we're changing all the time, and I think we're getting better. And I feel as if they're following us. I don't want to sound arrogant here, but if we start just focusing on purely on what they're doing, then we will never get any better. And everyone will just be copying each other. So we deliberately try to lead the way.
Okay. So what challenges are there with managing people, especially remotely?
Well, funnily enough, um, it hasn't been a challenge managing people remotely. I mean, I think at the beginning, um, we had one or two people that I wasn't convinced that they were working. And one incident, I found out one of the girls was doing two jobs. And she was like not getting any sleep and so forth. But I had my suspicions, and in the end, she admitted to it. But since then, it's been fine. I think we communicate a lot, so nobody's left on their own for days on end. I think everybody speaks to one or two people several times a day, so it almost doesn't feel remote. Plus, we've met everybody in the team. We went to Cape Town in November, which was fantastic. And to me, that changed everything with the team in South Africa. And not just for us, but also I think for you guys, because you know you, you build a better relationship when you meet people. And
Yes.
so I would say we've been lucky. I mean, I've heard some horror stories where, people our managers are checking people's keyboard activity and so forth. We don't want to go down that route. I don't want to be managing people. We want people who know what they're doing and to do their job. And my job is to support them, not to manage them. So
I like that answer. What are the challenges of running a business?
I think when you start off, the biggest challenge is that if you have an issue, you don't have a manager to go to. And you have to figure it out yourself. You have cash flow problems because obviously you have to buy the products in advance before you sell them. That's always a challenge, and that's a challenge for everybody. That's a challenge for companies much, much bigger than us as well. But again, there's always a way. Sometimes you have to get short-term loans to cover stock and so forth. So there's always a way. Um, there's these days one of the biggest challenges is compliance, getting that right all the time. So we're very tuned into regulations in each country. We don't obviously we can't certify our own products. They have to be independently certified. But then we check that everything is correct before we launch a product. So we don't just give it to somebody else to certify, then take the certificate and go for sale. We actually check and make sure that they followed the things because legislation changes all the time. That takes up a lot of time, and it's important because our products are mainly for kids, so we have to get that right from day one. Um, what other challenges? Um, I mean, there's the usual like working challenges. There's a lot of stuff you want to do, but you don't have the time to do it, or you can't afford to do it. But the main thing, I think, cash flow is a big problem, and that kills a lot of businesses as well. But you get better at managing and managing your spend and so forth. And yeah, that's it. I mean, there's lots of small ones, but there's nothing really special. Um,
Okay. What is the strategy for Limmys?
well, we normally we do a fresh strategy every year, but we did one about 18 months ago, and we haven't changed it. And that was to build the brand off of Amazon, like to maintain our presence on Amazon, but to build it off of Amazon. We knew this would be a slow burner, and it's proved very difficult to find external people to help us. So currently we're working to get our products into physical stores in the United States. We've been accepted by one of the biggest sports stores there, which we will announce once the contract has been signed. We're also looking at South America, about 12 countries in South America. And again, we're probably 75% there, and hopefully that will get launched this year at some stage. We're going to a trade fair in Amsterdam in November to try and find people that can help us to get into physical stores in Europe. It works very different to the United States, and it's more difficult to find people to help us. And then we will look at the African continent, and then Asia, and of course Australia as well. Our first off Amazon country is likely to be Fiji, and some stores have accepted us there. So, but again, it's a slow process. It can take 18 months from your first conversation to getting your product into the physical store.
So the key is to be persistent and trust the process.
Yeah, exactly. And we are launching like several new products now. We have a proper process in place where at any one time we will have two or three products that are ready to launch, and we will launch them, as and when we can afford to do so. So we're going to grow faster, and it all has like a compound effect. Like the more products, we can get on Amazon, the more money we will have to invest in more and to go off at Amazon as well. So,
Okay. So what are you most proud of?
um, ooh, that's a good one. There's a few things. I mean, one, um, it's kind of interesting sometimes when I look at Limmys and and I think, how did this happen? You know, how did it happen? Because I had no experience and I never saw myself as an entrepreneur. But suddenly this happened and it just grew. Um, so I'm quite proud of that. But to be honest with you, and this might sound a bit of a cliche, I'm most proud of the development I see in the team. I mean, I love developing people and making them better and giving them opportunities. And like my job, I always say, like my job is not to manage somebody. My job is to convince somebody that they can do something that they think they can't do. That's my job, and I see it like Urban and Jakob, when they joined, what 4.5 years ago, whatever, and I mean they're unrecognizable today compared to then. But even like yourself and the others in Cape Town, from what I can see, you're very different people now to what you were before when you joined Limmys, and I think that's probably what I'm most proud of because that didn't happen by accident. It wasn't that we got lucky with all the team. We made a conscious effort of, on a Sunday night when everybody's going to bed, that they're not dreading Monday morning to come to work. And that was always one of my goals because I don't want somebody who dreads coming to work at Limmys. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for them. It's not fair to them either. And so the culture is very much, um, you know, if you have something to say, an idea, whatever, say it, and nobody's going to knock you down. And I tell people as well is if they come up with 10 ideas and I knock them back 9 times, it's the 10th one. So keep doing it. So no means not now, and it doesn't mean not ever. So
Good. How do you deal with problems surrounding running a business?
um, I love that question because um, it's taken me a while to figure out how to navigate problems. And when we had problems initially, there's a panic. Everybody panics when there's a problem. And then you start thinking about what happens if we don't fix this? You think about the impact of not fixing it. And of course that causes more panic. And then you're focusing purely on the problem. And and you go into a zone where you can't see anything but this disaster. And that happens to everybody. And that happens to people in their personal lives, whatever it happens. And I worked out that it's not good to be like that. So what I've learned with problems is the most important thing is not the problem or even fixing it, is how I react to it. So the way I manage this problem is the most important thing. So first of all, the impact of not fixing it, I don't care now because it's not going to help me. It's only going to make things worse if it seems a disaster. The only thing that's important is how do we fix this problem? Now, afterwards, we can do a post-mortem and talk about how did this happen and so forth. But it's just all about just focusing on taking action, fixing the problem, getting the right people involved. That's key. So everybody knows that their role and having that we're constantly communicating with each other. And that works really well. But the most important thing, just to repeat it, is um, how I or anybody else manages the problem, how we manage ourselves. So I don't get all worked up and excited anymore or depressed, whatever. I just keep calm and see it. My job is to fix this problem, and that's all that matters. Nothing else matters. And it works quite well. But it took a long time to get to that mental
Yeah.
state, a long time. So
So now we're at the final question, and it's something fun. If you had to race anyone on the team, who would it be?
if I had to rate anybody or race
Race,
anybody,
a swimming race.
uh, I would say Jakob.
Why?
Now, bearing in mind, Jakob is, I don't know, maybe 35 years younger than me. Uh, but him and I are equally competitive.
Yeah.
And I know he would choose to race me as well. So that would be the most fun. Um, and I would get the most pleasure out of beating Jakob in a race. Now, most people would say you should not do that because he would beat you. But we played 10-pin bowling and I beat him in that. So but he's a former, semi-professional soccer player, so and he's good and he's in his early 20s. So but if it came down to it, then yeah, it would definitely be Jakob.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining me today.
Okay. And thank you very much.